Hey everyone. In this video, I want to talk to you about how to tackle your mind so that you no longer be your own worst enemy. I'm sure a lot of us have dealt with this in our own lives where we quite often have the tendency of being our own worst enemy, and it all starts here. So, how do you combat this? Well, oftentimes when you're being your own worst enemy, it's usually because your mind has been trained to focus on the negative. And this is a bit of a biological thing. Our ancestors used to focus on the negative because it's what allowed them to survive. I mean, there were saber-toothed tigers back then, so it was really in their best interest to pay attention to things in their surroundings that weren't good. But nowadays, we've evolved to a point where that no longer serves us. There aren't giant cats waiting around every corner trying to eat you alive. So there's no point in walking around being anxious and fearing something around every corner. But a lot of us still have that wiring in our biology where we tend to worry about things because we're worrying about those future potential threats. Only nowadays they're not really threats anymore. So how do you decondition yourself to stop doing this? Well, since it is kind of in our biology, you can't really fully get rid of it. So what you have to do is become more aware of it so that you can kind of distract yourself from it or refute it when it happens. So one thing that really works for this, it doesn't completely get rid of it, but it helps mitigate it a lot, is just meditation. And I know what you're thinking. Meditating is a chore, right? Well, here's the thing. Because of the fact that a lot of us are busy and a lot of us will view setting aside time to meditate as a task all in itself, I've come up with a way that makes it a lot easier so that you can no longer have an excuse for not doing it. Basically, one form of meditation I like doing is just as often throughout the day as possible, I like to focus on my breathing and breathing deeply into my diaphragm. So what I'll literally do is, as often as I can, I'll think about breathing in deeply through my diaphragm and counting to 10 on the inhale. So literally just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. And then exhaling to the count of 4 or 6, whichever feels more comfortable to you. Now the inhale is the most important part because once you've fully expanded your stomach, and basically what will happen is if you're breathing in through your diaphragm, your stomach will be expanding on your inhales and you'll be sucking it in on the exhales. So when you fully expand your stomach on the inhales, you want to hold it for few seconds to give your body time to utilize the oxygen, and that really helps to calm you down from any anxiety or stress you may be feeling. So the most important part is, if you can, just focus on holding your breath for 2 to 4 seconds when you're breathing. Even if you're not breathing deeply, that will help a lot. So just try to remember that as often as possible throughout the day. Just actively meditate like that. It really helps to center you and to stop your monkey brain from going nuts. So that helps a lot. Another thing is just, since you can't always shut off that worrying part of your brain, instead try to focus on the silver lining in situations. So you don't necessarily need to force yourself to be positive, because that can be kind of hard. You can try it, and if it works for you, do it by all means. But if that doesn't quite work for you, then just try focusing on something good about everything that happens. And odds are, if you can't pinpoint something good, it's usually going to be the growth that you're getting out of this situation. So remember that, it'll help. But beyond those two things, the meditating and focusing on silver linings, what will help you stop beating yourself up and being your own worst enemy is to literally start thinking about refuting that voice in your head that's super critical on yourself. That we all know that voice that when you're out in public and you trip in front of people, that voice that says, oh, you're clumsy and no good, those people now think you're an idiot. that voice. You want to pretty much get into the habit of thinking of that voice as like a bully. So you want to start refuting it and standing up to it. So what I'll do is whenever I have those self-defeating thoughts, I'll reject them. I'll chime in as myself in my head, and I'll say, that doesn't serve me, so I'm rejecting that. Or you can even just quite literally tell that voice to shut up. That works too. But you just want to get into the habit of basically not allowing that voice to ruminate in your head, to rummage around in there and to wreak havoc. You want to get rid of it and not give it any staying power over you. So that way it won't influence you and make you think that you're less than you are. You basically want to stand up for yourself against that negative voice in your head. So that really helps with not being your own worst enemy. So pretty much comes down to those three things. You want to get into the habit of meditating as often as possible throughout the day by just focusing on your breathing. Look for the silver linings in things. And then just get into the habit of not allowing that critical voice to affect you and to bring you down. I know all of this is easier said than done, but it's what's helped me get to where I am and what's helped me not be my own worst enemy, because that's one of the worst things that can happen. Nobody wants to be standing in their own way, and as much as you can, you need to start standing up to that negative voice and not listening to it and not letting it direct your decision making and your actions. Anyway, I hope this video helped you, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Arrivederci.